My name is Omar, we're here at Functional Core Fitness, and today we're covering the finale of the Independence Through Movement series. All right, welcome back everyone, and today is the finale of the Independent Through Movement series, and we are covering walking. Sounds boring, right? But no, it is extremely important. Why? Because a lot of us do it every single day, and walking mechanics can be improved. So today, all I'm going to cover is the basics of walking and what we're looking for and how to improve your walking mechanics. Number one thing when it comes to walking, we have to make sure that our hips are in the right position and our hips are under our shoulders. That's the main thing. We can't be here. Now, if we are here in this position because of whatever circumstances, then that's where this whole series is to improve that. All the exercises was to help drive the hips forward so that I can get my hips under my shoulders. Posture is key. If I can't have the right posture, then the movement's going to be incorrect automatically. So hips under the shoulders, number one. Number two, rhythm. I don't mean like rhythm when we walk, right? I want the rhythm of the opposite arm swinging when my front leg is in front. So I'm opposite arm, opposite leg. Once you find that, then you can find your rhythm in whatever rhythm that you want. But we want to make sure that we have opposite arm, opposite leg, so our arms are swinging when our feet are moving. And it's one swing per step. And the reason that we swing when we step is to counterbalance our movement. If we weren't swinging and we did the same arm, same leg, then we'd be rocking side to side or rotating side to side, and it would be way too much movement and it would be way too much going on. We want to make sure that we keep that posture up nice and tall, opposite arm, opposite leg when I swing my arms. All right, next thing, landing position. Where do we land? Preferably, you want to land in the mid foot. You don't want to land on the heel. Okay. Now, if you see, if I land on my heel, you can see that my knee is straight. I definitely don't want to lock my knees when I walk, because I don't want my knees to hyperextend when I walk. So when I walk and land on the on the mid foot. I don't walk on them with balls either, right? If I walk on the balls, that's too much ankle, too much calf. It's not going to maintain a certain rhythm, correct rhythm when you walk. Now, when I'm landing on one foot, all right, what am I doing with the opposite leg? The driver is the back leg. Now, this key detail that I'm about to explain right now is probably the most important thing when it comes to connection to the ground when you walk. The connection of the ball of the foot is extremely important. That is the main driver. That's why that toe is big, right? And the pinky toe on the other end is not so big. Although, even though that pinky toe isn't so big, doesn't look like there is any use to it, we have to make sure that when we drive with the 2 points of contact in the front. Under the ball of the foot, where the big toe is, and under the pinky toe, that's the 2 pressure points. The third is your heel. But we're discussing the first 2 because that is going to be the driver of your walk. I've seen certain walks where the foot or the feet are angled outward. Now, if I'm angled, I'm more likely not pushing from my glutes. I'm most likely pulling from my hips. And then what I'm also not doing is I'm not pushing and driving with the most important part of my foot, which is that big toe. Because how am I driving off that big toe when I'm pulling from the hip flexors and I'm not really rolling over my big toe and my ball of the foot? So keeping your toes out takes away from the glute strength and the glute power, and then it takes away from the connection point of that big toe to drive off with more purpose. Okay? When we walk, we want to walk with purpose. We don't want to walk with our eyes down, and we definitely don't want to be pulling our legs. We want to drive off the ball of the toe, and we have to drive with the glutes. So currently, we're here. So as I drive, in sports, they call this triple extension. The extension of the hip, the extension of the knee, it's not an extension, it's actually dorsiflexion, but it's the extension of the ankle, right? This triple extension is the most important thing when it comes to drive in sports. It's also the important thing when we walk forward. We have to get that triple extension as we walk. Now, going back to the ball of the toe, or the ball of the foot. If you don't have the flexibility of the big toe to bend at a 90 degrees, you're taking away the strength of your drive of your foot and your glute. Because if I'm in a lunge position, look at the big toe in the back. My big toe in the back, I'm connected to the floor as opposed to here, I'm on the tip of my toe. There's no power there. And when I see people who stand that way, they have to shift the weight to the front leg because there's no drive back there. And then now this leg has to do the majority of the work, which then becomes extremely difficult. That's where they stabilize their knee with their hands, and then they push off the floor, right, with one foot basically. This back leg becomes a kickstand, and then they have to drive up, and that front leg does all the work, and most likely they're getting up off the floor with the same side up the whole time, because a lot of people just don't alternate. It's not in our nature to alternate. We're going to use the dominant leg. So that leg gets all this work, other leg doesn't get any work because we don't change, and there's no drive in the back. So the flexibility of your toes are extremely important because that assists us on getting up and off the floor, and it also assists us when I walk. I want strength and power when I walk. I walk with purpose. That is the most important thing. So the alignment of your feet are also straight because that allows me to drive off the ball of the foot. If you've noticed, one thing I keep repeating is the ball of the foot. That's how important driving off the ball of the foot is. Very important. I see a lot of people never using or not using that ball of the foot, and I wish they would understand how important it is. So that ball of the foot is extremely important. Let's cover the knees. I don't want to lock my knees. We've discussed that, right? When I land. That's why we land more midfoot. Another thing that's going to help us with midfoot landing is the length of our stride. A lot of us are in a hurry. So because we're in a hurry, we're walking fast all the time. And when we walk fast, we get big strides. And that's when we start heel landing. And when I heel land, I'm going to get this front leg or this front knee straight. And most likely with this back leg, this back knee is going to be straight as well. So I got both of my knees locked because I'm walking this big, big stride. Now I understand life happens and we have to walk fast. I get it. But see if we can walk faster in a smaller stride versus a longer stride, you'll get more efficiency if you walk driving off the ball of the foot, landing on the balls of the feet, you'll get more efficient movement. Now, the shoulders. We discussed that we don't want the shoulders forward. We want the shoulders back, and not just back, we want the shoulders down. Right? We don't want to elevate the shoulders. That is my issue. I do jiu-jitsu and I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 years. That is a lot of movement or positions of me protecting myself in this position. So I have a tendency of rolling my shoulders. So I have to always remind myself to shoulders back. They call that shoulder retraction. Shoulder depression just means shoulders down, and then my eyes are forward, right? That's where we want our eyes. Shoulders back, shoulders down, eyes forward. We're moving with purpose. We're keeping our eyes on the prize or wherever we're looking at, and we walk. Because my shoulders round forward, I have a tendency of walking and looking down. I remember when I did the John Muir Trail, which is 20 days of backpacking, I remember doing a lot of walking and looking down the floor. And that created a really bad habit of me walking and looking at the floor. So 220 miles with a crow's fly is that, I mean, it wasn't 220 miles because there was a lot of switchbacks. So I would say 300 miles of just looking down, walking because I'm looking to see what I'm stepping on, right? And deep thought for a lot of backpacking. So that created a lot of, and jiu-jitsu, that created a lot of bad habits for me. So shoulders back, shoulders down, eyes in the prize, smaller strides, open up the big toe, drive off the ball of the foot. All right, I hope that made sense. That was the conclusion of Independence Through Movement series. We started with a Turkish get-up. We learned how to roll. We learned how to bridge. We learned how to kneel. We learned how to stand. We learned how to balance. And we learned how to carry. And the one thing that all of that put together gives us the ability to move through life confidently and, more importantly, independently. So I hope you guys enjoyed this series. And remember, train hard, train smart, and stay independent. And we will see you in the next video series. Hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you guys later.